Good morning. This is Simon, and welcome again to my channel, Simon Heals. If this is the first time that you've listened to me on this channel, then this channel really is my sharing of my personal journey of healing um, in the, just with the intention really of supporting you in your healing journey. And that support often comes through by um, through kind of energetic resonance and knowing that others out there are kind of experiencing similar things to yourself, that you're not alone. So I think that's one of the ways in which doing this helps. And also the energy that comes through from the videos, I believe has a positive healing effect. I don't say this with any kind of arrogance at all. And in fact, the what I want to share with you this morning will really help to put a context to more of a context to what I'm doing with this channel. This morning I just want to share with you something that I wrote down early this morning. So each day I start the morning with I will light a candle at my shrine here and light some incense and some sage and smudge and just kind of cleanse and prepare for the day. This is so important that we do this and that we connect with source in whatever way that works for us. Some people like to pray. I like to meditate, so I sit and meditate. Before I start the meditation, I'll do some pranayama, which is some yogic breathing, which really helps me to drop down into that kind of meditative state. And then I usually meditate for I don't really look at the time. It's kind of generally clock time isn't something that I'm too invested in. I'm sure at some point I'll be kind of talking about time in videos, and it's something that I talk about a lot in my Reiki courses and our relationship with time. And actually, if I remember rightly, that it does come up a little bit in what I want to read for you this morning. So where was I? Yes, I'll sit and meditate, and I bring Reiki into the meditation practice also. And then after that, I transition immediately into writing. And this is a practice that was introduced to me many years ago by my first Reiki master teacher in Brighton, in England, a beautiful woman called Rifa. If I remember correctly, her practice is just simply called Brighton Reiki. So if you're in that area and you're looking for a Reiki healer to visit, for treatments, or you'd like to learn Reiki, I really can't recommend her enough. A beautiful woman, I believe she's still there. Something that Rifa introduced me to is a practice called morning pages, and this is a practice that is taught in a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. It's quite an old book now, I believe. But I really highly recommend it. I think if Julia Cameron was presenting these days, she'd probably do it more as an online course, and present it through a channel like YouTube or something like that. Yeah, but I guess kind of like back in the day, we used to buy books and do these kind of courses through books. So it's very much a course in releasing our creativity, you know, and we're all extremely creative beings. And what holds that creativity back is, I guess, what we might call our kind of emotional, mental emotional blockages, and our traumas. So it's really a book about releasing those traumas and connecting with creativity. So one of the practices is morning pages, which I won't go into in any detail now. Um, but really, the practice is to sit each morning, and one of the first things to make this one of the first things that you do in the morning, and just to write 3 pages of a conscious stream of writing. So really encouraging not to think about what you're writing, and it's not necessarily something that is going to be read by anybody. So there's no real focus on the spelling and the grammar and those kind of things. It's just really, in a way, unloading the mind. So before the day starts, and it's an amazing practice. I have got piles and piles of books. I've been doing this now since I was introduced to this practice. I think that must be about 11 or 12 years ago, I think now. So as you can imagine, 3 pages a day, that really accumulates. And on the whole, I very rarely go back and look at anything that I've written. Um, but what happened this morning is something came through that I feel is valuable to share. And I'm just going to read this to you shortly. um, Before I do share this, I just would like to say that I feel quite vulnerable doing this, because really what comes through for me um, is really from the kind of deepest parts of my subconscious mind, connecting with higher self, connecting with source, with God, whatever you want to call that. So yeah, thank you for, yeah, just for kind of respecting um, respecting this vulnerability that I'm sharing. And I totally understand if you listen to this and it doesn't resonate. You might even think I'm kind of a bit deluded. That's It's absolutely fine. If you listen to what I have to say, my intention is unrelated to my ego and my egoic needs. Um, and just before I do read this, to put this into context, also, um, fairly recently, actually, back last year, I did a regression therapy, and rather than going into any past lives, I was taken into other dimensions, where I experienced myself as a ninth dimensional energy called Raph. Um, and I met up with I guess what you might call my soul group, and there was very much a leader of this group, who turned out to be Archangel Raphael. And Archangel Raphael explained to me that he is a direct fractal of source energy, that he's the healing light, the healing ray, and that I and this group are also that we are fractals of Raphael. So we're kind of, in a way, kind of like, I don't want to talk in terms of kind of like hierarchy as we understand it from the human perspective. It's not about, you know, better and best and all that stuff, but in a way, kind of like a second fractal from source. So this is my soul energy, Raf. So I just wanted to introduce that because this actually is this writing. I'm writing from the perspective of Raf. So I'm going to read this to you now. I am Raph, I am love. I am a multi-dimensional angel of light, unrestrained by third-dimensional law. I am here in the third dimension to guide and assist others during this ascension period. How long does this period last in third dimensional time? So that question, I guess, is kind of like coming from Simon to Raph. So that's from me to my soul or my higher self. So the question was, does this period, how long does this period last in third dimensional time, this ascension period? As you are aware, time is not real, does not exist in the higher dimensions of 6 and above. As the energies become denser, there is a lapse of time between the thought and the manifestation. This lapse creates time, what we call time. The ascension will take as long as the collective mind and consciousness takes to shift. At individual level within the collective, many have already shifted, whilst there are those that are at very early stages of the shift. If you're listening to this and if you're understanding and resonating with what I'm reading, you're already well into that process of shift that Raph is talking about here. There are others who will not shift, and they are exiting the earth plane so as not to prevent the ascension. And then Simon asked the question, is this where the supposed pandemic comes in? And then Raph answers, the supposed pandemic, as you refer to it, has many roles. It is symptomatic of the rise in frequency happening on Earth right now. Those in the lower frequencies will experience symptoms. Some are actually unable to physically survive these symptoms. Others, as yourself, are largely unaffected, as your frequency is already a match to the new frequencies. As the vibration rises, what are being referred to as new variants. And I thought this was fascinating. I mean, when this came through, I was like, wow. So what are being referred to as new variants are occurring. There are those that that are the controllers or the black magicians that are aware of this ascension process and the symptoms. And they are using these as a reason to, let's use the word, give the shot. We don't want to be banned yet. It's a new channel. So so they are using these as a reason to give the shot to the masses. The contents of these shots are to detach humanity from source energy and trap it within the third dimensional matrix. They are ultimately under the control of artificial intelligence, which is not of source energy. We may call this Satan. And also, Raph didn't use this name also, but I've also heard reference to the archons, and I believe it's the same. And as I understand, the archons are referred to even in the Dead Sea Scrolls. I think the writings of the Essenes refer to the archons. So these are the artificial intelligence that are not of source energy. These are the bad guys, if you want. So we may call this Satan, the black sun. Satan and those that have sold their souls to him wish to destroy source. To them, source is evil. Source energy is that of free will and creativity. They see this as dangerous and that individual free will and creativity must be suppressed. and prevented for the greater good. This is this is the hive mentality. So the Satanists do not see themselves as bad. They are detached from source and therefore the full spectrum of light codes, including that of the heart energy. They operate from a reduced spectrum focused only on survival and logic. They cannot win the war. They do not and have not. So love ultimately wins out, which is and that's where this finishes, because when I write, I literally, wherever I'm at the end of the third page, I just stop. I would have liked to have continued that conversation. I read you about half of it, about 1.5 pages, which I just wanted to share because I feel that there's messages in there for all of us, for the collective, and really a kind of understanding, a greater understanding of what the ascension is that we're experiencing at the moment, and where this so-called pandemic fits in, what its role is. And I guess that most of you listening to this do not have any real kind of great belief or fear of this pandemic, but if there is anything there, which is completely understandable, so absolutely zero judgment if there is, because we've really been brainwashed for so long, mind controlled. So if there are any residues of concern or fear there, please, I hope this really helps to dispel those for you. And dispel is exactly the right word to use, because we have been under a spell and we are breaking that spell, and our words are spelling, aren't they? That's what spelling is about. So the words that I'm sharing are to dispel these spells, and something that we really, really must do, and be super conscious is to get into the polarity of right and wrong. And I think it was interesting towards the end of this message this morning that those that we could call bad or evil, Raphael first refers to them as the black magicians and the Satanists. And he points out that Satan is not bad. That Satan is detached from source energy and sees source energy as bad. So these these on, let's say, on that side, they don't see themselves as bad. They see free will and individuality and creativity as something that is a threat to the collective. So their perspective of unity is different than, let's say, our perspective of unity, which is where we see ourselves as one, but also individual within that oneness. Whereas their intention and their direction, let's say, is oneness, which is more of a kind of hive mentality. And even as I say this to you, certainly who am I to say what is right or wrong? I don't, but I know what feels right to me and what resonates with me. And since being a child, I've always gravitated towards oneness, from a sense of love and connection. I've never understood any sense of hatred or antagonism towards another. I've never I never got it. I still don't get it, but I never got that, even from a very young age. Um, so yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you today. I'd love to anyone got any comments on these that you'd like to share. I'd be fascinated to read those comments. And as ever, if you'd like to contact me directly, please do. I'll leave my email address below, and you can contact me directly on that. And I do offer um, readings, soul readings, and healings as well, soul healing sessions, um, online and in person. If you happen to be in Koh Samui, Thailand, or passing near here anytime in the near future, please look me up and let's connect. And but as I say, if you're not and you'd like, you feel that you could benefit from some healing, then we can do that online. So yeah, from Simon here in Koh Samui. Namaste. Bless you.